Welcome back to the class. And today we shall discuss few questions in the chapter reproduction. So, what are all the important questions that are going to be asked in the examination? So, let us have a quick look at these questions. So, first of all, let us see definition. So, what is reproduction? What is its importance? So, reproduction is a life process which helps in the continuation of the species and can define reproduction as the ability of an organism to produce the organisms of its own kind. Okay. So you should write reproduction is an important life process which helps in the continuation of the species. It can be defined as the ability of an organism to produce the organisms of its own kind. Okay, so that is reproduction. And what is its importance? So reproduction helps, first thing, reproduction helps in the continuation of the species. Under favorable conditions, it helps to increase the size of the population, and it also replaces the organisms which die due to various reasons like diseases, natural calamities, etc. So that is the importance of nutrition. And next we shall see what is pollination and fertilization. So in plants, pollination is the process where the transfer of pollen grains to the stigma of the flower. That's called pollination. And if the pollen grains are transmitted to the stigma of the same flower, it is called self-pollination. If the pollen grains are transferred to the stigma of the other flower of the same species, it is called cross-pollination. And what is fertilization? Fertilization is a fusion of male and female gametes is called fertilization. So pollination is the first step of sexual reproduction where the pollen grains get transferred to the stigma of the flower, and next fertilization, fusion of male and female gametes will take place. Next, what is external fertilization and internal fertilization? The process of fertilization which takes place outside the body of the organism is called external fertilization. It usually occurs in aquatic organisms like fishes and also amphibians, and in organisms like annelids, etc. That is outside the body of the organism. The process of fertilization takes place. It is called external fertilization. Internal fertilization means the process of fertilization, fusion of male and female gametes takes place inside the body of the organism. It is called internal fertilization. Okay, and expand DNA. What is DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid. What is the importance of DNA in copying in reproduction? So DNA is the genetic material present in the chromosomes in the nucleus of a cell. It carries the genetic materials, various characters which are inherited from parent generation to the progeny or to the offspring. So DNA carries the genetic material. DNA is in the form of a double helical structure. It is present in the chromosomes of nucleus, and it carries the genetic material and helps in the carrying the genetic material from parent generation to the progeny or offspring. That is the importance of DNA. What is variation? Why variation is beneficial to the species but not necessarily for the individual? Variation. So the minor changes that are found in the organisms belonging to the same species is called variation. So minor differences that are found in the organisms belonging to the same species is called variation. So variation is beneficial to the species. That means if the species are every organism is alike, what happens? So if some disease occurs, some famine occurs, some flood occurs, the whole species will be wiped out. But when there is variation, what happens? Naturally the nature in the form of food, shelter, environment will choose the organism with good characters and eliminate the organisms with harmful characters. So that is why variations help in the process of evolution and for the formation of better generation. That is the importance of variation. Next, write the differences between asexual and sexual reproduction. So the process of reproduction takes place by two methods, that is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. So in asexual reproduction, only one organism is involved, one parent. In sexual reproduction, there are two parents are required. In asexual reproduction, there is no meiosis, no formation of gametes, no fertilization, and next thing, no formation of zygote. Whereas in the case of sexual reproduction, meiosis will take place during the formation of gametes. Next, fertilization will take place, zygote is formed. Okay, and next thing, in asexual reproduction, the progeny exactly resembles the parent, whereas in the case of sexual reproduction, the offspring will have some characters of male parents, some characters of female parents, and some new characters can be seen, variations can be seen in the offspring. Okay, and so in asexual reproduction, during the process of meiosis, no meiosis and no crossing over will take place. Whereas in the case of sexual reproduction, during meiosis, crossing over of the chromosomes will take place, which will lead to variations. When the variations occur, there is always chance for the formation of a better generation. That means nature has a very less choice in choosing better organisms in asexual reproduction, whereas in the case of sexual reproduction, nature has a lot of choice to choose the better organism. So that is why in asexual reproduction there is less chance for evolution, whereas in the case of sexual reproduction there is more chance for better development, better organism, better generation. Okay, that is the thing. Next, what are the different methods of asexual reproduction in lower organisms? So in lower organisms, they reproduce asexually by different methods. So in amoeba, you can see binary fission. Binary fission means in amoeba, which is a unicellular organism, and Leishmania is also unicellular organism. First, the nucleus divides into two, and the cytoplasm is equally distributed around the nucleus, and a cell membrane is formed between the two nuclei, and the two daughter cells get to separate. So the two daughter cells exactly resemble the parent. That is known as binary fission. So during certain conditions, unfavorable conditions, amoeba, paramecium, they undergo a special type of fission which is called as multiple fission. Multiple fission means the nucleus divides several times, several nuclei, and each nucleus is surrounded by cytoplasm and a cell membrane, and around these nuclei a thick membrane is formed, and then when the cells are completely formed, and these each individual comes out and lives independently. That is multiple fission. That is one method of asexual reproduction in unicellular organisms like amoeba, paramecium, leishmania, etc. And in the case of yeasts and coelenterate like hydra, a special type of asexual reproduction takes place, which is called as budding. So that means small buds, outgrowths come out of the cells, and they, after complete growth, they get separated from the parent and they lead independent life. That is called budding. And next one is fragmentation. Fragmentation means a bit, a piece. So in organisms like Spirogyra, it's having a filament-like structure, thread-like structure, which is called as a filament. So the filament breaks at certain point, and the broken filament develops and grows independently. That is called fragmentation. And next, another method of asexual reproduction is called regeneration. What is regeneration? So it can be seen in the planaria. What happens? It loses a part. So you can see the planaria. It loses a part, and the last part is regenerated. So that is regenerated, and this is going to regenerate, and this part again it will regenerate. So that is the method of regeneration, which is a type of asexual reproduction in organisms like planaria. And another method is called sporulation, which can be seen in fungi, that is fungi, rhizopus, mucor, etc. So it is soft, we can see. So if a piece of bread which is moist is kept open, within a day or two we can see soft tissue. So if it is observed under the microscope, you can see small thread-like structures which are called hyphae, and some hyphae grow vertically and they end with sac-like structures which are called as sporangia. So the sporangia enclose spores, and when the spores mature, the sporangia burst open and release the spores. So the spores, which are unicellular, very light in weight, they are carried away by the wind current, and under favorable conditions they germinate and give rise to new fungus. So these are the certain important methods of asexual reproduction in lower organisms. Okay. And next thing, what are the differences between sperms and ova? So, what are the differences between sperms and ova? So, it's very important. So, sperms are male reproductive units, and ova are female reproductive gametes. You can say gametes are units. Both are haploid. Sperms are produced in the male reproductive system. Ova are produced in the female reproductive system. Sperms are produced in testes. Ova are produced in ovaries. Sperms are produced in large number, whereas ova are produced in a small number. Sperms are smaller in size, ova are larger in size. Sperms are motile, they can move, whereas ova are non-motile. And sperms do not contain any reserve food material, but ova contain usually reserve food material. These are the differences between sperms and ova. Next, what are the artificial methods of vegetative propagation? What are the artificial methods of vegetative propagation? That means man found that he can grow the plants by means of vegetative reproduction. He adopted different methods. That is, first thing is cuttings, layerings, and grafting. Cuttings means a part of stem with more than 2 nodes is cut slantly and kept in the soil along with manure, and it is watered. Very soon it develops roots and grows into a new plant. That method is called cutting. Layering means a plant, when it is still in contact with the parent plant, is allowed to grow roots and develop into a new plant. That is called layering. And the method by which the plants are developed by layering, they are called layers. And the next thing, grafting. Grafting is another method where the plants with beneficial characters, that means the root, healthy root is allowed to unite with healthy stem. So that part, and they are allowed to unite together to grow into a new plant with good characters in root system as well as a shoot system. So the plant which provides root system is called stalk, and the plant which provides shoot system is called scion. Both stalk and scion in course of time unite together and excuse me, and form in a new plant, that is called that method is called grafting. That means scion and stalk are allowed to grow together. That means scion is having good characters, beneficial characters, and stalk is also having good characters. So they are allowed to grow together and it will grow into a new plant. That method is called grafting. So cuttings, layerings, grafting are different methods of vegetative propagation artificially. Next, how vegetative propagation takes place in plants. So that means in plants you can see in bryophyllum, vegetative reproduction means a type of asexual reproduction. There is no formation of gametes, meiosis, or formation of zygote, etc. So that is why various vegetative parts of the plant like roots, stem, leaves, they take part in developing into a new plant. That is called vegetative reproduction. So if you see in bryophyllum leaf, the notches of the leaf, that means where the notch of the leaf is there, it will develop into, when it comes in contact with the soil, it will develop into a new plant. That is called epiphyllous buds or leaf buds. And in potato, onion, we can see modification of stems, and which will help in developing new plants. And in neem, curry leaf, you can see root buds. So that means roots are taking part in giving rise to new plant. So in this way, leaves, stems, and roots, they take part in giving rise to new plants. So that is a method of asexual reproduction that takes place in plants. That is another question. What are the advantages of sexual reproduction over asexual reproduction? So when there is a choice, plants avoid asexual reproduction, and they promote sexual reproduction. Why? Because in sexual reproduction, the gametes are produced, and due to fusion of gametes, fertilization, there is genetic material gets exchanged. So that is why there is always formation of new characters, and the organisms with good characters are promoted by the nature, and there is always a chance for the formation of a better generation. Whereas in the case of asexual reproduction, the progeny exactly resembles the parent. That is why there is very less choice for the nature to select a better organism, and there is very less choice for evolution. So that is why asexual reproduction has a lot of advantages, because genetic exchange will take place and variations can be seen. So that is the advantage of sexual reproduction over asexual reproduction. Next, another thing, what are the advantages of vegetative reproduction? So there are certain advantages in vegetative reproduction. What are they? That means the organisms with the gardener, let us say a gardener is he wants a plant with all, he has a plant with all the required characters. He does not want new character to be introduced in that plant. So in such a case, he will adopt vegetative reproduction. The two vegetative reproduction, in short time, large number of plants can be grown. And you can see tissue culture is a type of asexual reproduction. So from a single cell or group of cells, new plants can be grown. That means a healthy part of the plant like leaf is selected, and it is allowed to grow under controlled conditions. That means optimum temperature, light, and nutrients are supplied, and each cell will develop into a new plant. So it is very useful, very applicable, very practical, and so it is very useful in agriculture, horticulture, forestry, etc. So that is why sometimes vegetative reproduction has its own advantage. Okay, so that is the importance of vegetative reproduction. But sexual reproduction helps in process of evolution. Variations occur due to fusion of gametes, and that is why genetic variation will take place. But sometimes there are certain advantages. That means in a short time, more number of plants can be grown. And next thing, so if man wants the same characters to be continued, vegetative propagation is useful. And in some plants, they produce flowers very rarely. In such conditions, by means of vegetative reproduction, more number of plants can be grown within a short period of time. So that is the importance of vegetative reproduction. Okay, so these are all the important things. So what is reproduction, what is importance of reproduction, what is pollination and fertilization, external fertilization and internal fertilization. External fertilization, I told you examples of fishes, fish, frog, earthworm, etc. Internal fertilization mainly takes place in terrestrial organisms. Expand DNA, that is the so genetic material is passed on. Variation, differences between asexual and sexual reproduction. Different methods of asexual reproduction in lower organisms: fission, budding, regeneration, sporulation, fragmentation. These are the methods. Differences between sperms and ova. Artificial methods of vegetative propagation, that is cuttings, layerings, and grafting. So, how vegetation reproduction takes place? Vegetative parts of the plant, like the stem, root, and leaves, take part in giving rise to new plant. And advantages of sexual reproduction, that means sexual reproduction always helps in the formation of a better generation and evolution of the organisms. But there are certain advantages in vegetative reproduction. More plants can be grown in a very short period of time. And next thing, if man does not want new characters to be entered, that means if he wants the plant with the same characters, vegetative propagation is useful, and more varieties of plants can be grown by means of grafting, and also the plants which produce flowers very rarely, vegetative reproduction is very useful. So these are some important questions, and we shall continue with some more questions in this chapter, that is reproduction. Hope you have understood. Okay. Thank you.